Hey guys, welcome back. Brian here with your real estate market update for September 2024. So today we're going to talk to you about some of the normal stuff, but we're also going to give you an insight as to what you could probably see coming over the next year, depending on what happens over the next 3 months. Now, the thing about real estate or business in general is it's really easy to play the game when you understand the rules to the game. And over the last 10 years, since 2008 crash, we've all known the rules of the game. The interest rates are low, you're buying, and you're going to ride that high until you get to the dream house you want to have eventually in the future. Right? That was the rule, most people. Now, you could be an investor in that space, you could be a first-time home buyer in that space, but all of the rules kind of went along the same pace. And I'm simplifying it, obviously, but we all understand what I'm trying to say. After the pandemic, the rules changed. Interest rates went up significantly. So the new rules to the game were the market's probably going to have a shift downward. You probably should be very worried about what you do, and the interest rates are too high. It can't be sustainable. And everybody's walking around kind of, here's what we think the rules are going to be. And this is how you either win or don't lose your money of what you did so far. Keep it all. Now, that didn't exactly happen, but that's what we all had a consensus of thinking this is probably what's coming next. So the constant question I talk about with people is, so what is happening if that's not what it is? And so the reality is the rules are changing right underneath our feet. The legislation that's coming into place at the end of this year, depending on who gets in office and who doesn't, each person has their own set of rules for which they would like to see enacted inside policy. Each party does. There's no right or wrong to it from my perspective, it just is. And there's benefits and negatives to each side of everything depending on who you are. We have clients right now who are making a lot of money as investors today. We have also people who are being first-time home buyers and doing great today. There's some who aren't doing those things, but it's not the right move for them right now. So depending on who you are, there's always a great opportunity. So I'm not going to say one is right over the other. They both have their advantages depending on where inside of the spectrum of being a real estate buyer, seller, investor you happen to be. Economically, everyone has an advantage, and there's things that aren't good for everybody. So rules to the game. If you're playing real estate, it's really important you understand how that works. So a lot of people call me and ask, hey, what's going on? Interest rates went down. Did that change anything? The answer is no. It changed literally nothing. And the reason why is because most of us in the real estate industry or on the mortgage side of the business or the insurance side of the business, we all anticipated the change. And when a bank says, hey, they're probably going to lower rates, they adjust all of their interest rate pricing weeks, months before so that they don't lose any business they would by hitting the button right then and there at the time the real estate interest rates go down. So that change was already embedded in the marketplace, which is why there wasn't much change at all. We have seen some changes in the world of refinances. So there's been a sizable increase in the amount of refinances that lenders are having right now because in the last 2 years, we've had interest rates of 7%, 7.5%, 8%. If it's really bad, could be as low as 7%, but the rates now are lower than 6%. So if you have a 1% difference in your actual interest rate, you're probably going to be a refinance candidate. And that's what's happening right now. But there's a couple other things that are happening in the background that we aren't going to talk about because for most of us, they're not relevant today. But I promise you they're going to be relevant on the new board game we're about to start playing. One thing that you should know, home equity is actually at the highest level it's been since 1950, which honestly, given all the news you've heard, you would never think that's the case. So if people have more equity in the property than they've had since the year 1950, and there are future sellers, and the market does happen to take a bit of a backstep or a dip, it's not really going to affect anybody because all they're doing is taking a little bit less for the property than they would originally. Now, that's not to say we aren't going to have some problems. We might not, but that's not the point. The point is there's other rules in the game ahead of us that we can't really see right now because we're not talking about them. There's legislation on both sides of the spectrum that may matter to some and may not matter to others. But what is going to happen is we need to pay attention to whatever changes are coming because that will be the new game. And that may not be the same rules we saw in 2008 when there was a mortgage meltdown and everything crashed. It may be a very different game. What you want to pay attention to is all of this extra stuff though. So when we're going to try and update over the next 3 months, 4 months as the election continues, it'll matter who gets in to a degree, but what's going to matter more is understanding the other things that they're not talking about that are relevant to the rules for which you'll be playing with. We have investors, we have first-time home buyers, we have second-time sellers, we have all these people. You can win at any position on the board if you understand the rules from that position on the board. It is possible to win. So you do not have to talk directly to me, to my team, to us. You don't have to do that. You can talk to whoever you want, but you want to make sure you're having a tailored conversation and plan specifically for your scenario. We have clients in California who are exiting their investments in California because they don't like the way the legislation looks. And if you got our previous updates, you'll have seen that there are some new rules in California if you're a landlord or owner of property that will affect you. It all matters very specifically to you and what you're trying to do. So as we approach the end of the year, we're going to be very specific to how this stuff is playing out. For now, you just want to stay informed as to what we see coming, and we'll update you as we go. So if you do want to talk about it beforehand, great, let us know. Otherwise, just tune in and we'll tell you what's coming up as it goes along. Otherwise, we'll see you here next month on our real estate market update. See you then.